snow, but is actually rain weather. I was really hoping the weather report was wrong and we'd get this glorious snowstorm, but it turned to rain. And we're glad that you braved it and came to be with us, either in person or online. And I am Ginger Yoder. I am the Director of Family Ministries for this church. I'm a lifelong UU and actually was raised in this congregation since I was born. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to be with you today and all days in this community of caring and amazing growth. And I see lots of little faces out there today. So we get to do some fun stuff later in RE, but while you guys get to keep thinking about big things. I'd like to extend a special welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time. We are very glad that you are here. If you come in person, you should have received a welcome packet with an information card on it. If you want to fill that out and drop it in the offering basket, we can be in touch to find ways to support you in finding your way in this congregation and into this community. If you're joining us online, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of the same card. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags and can answer any questions or point you to additional information. Is any of the welcoming committee out there that can raise their hands? There, I see some. And whether you are new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or our Zoom room. And now we'll say our words of welcome together. Oh, we do, but that's... Yeah. We could do announcement now, but we'll wait. So our words of welcome. Whether this is your first or thousandth Sunday with us, and whether you stroll, roll, Zoom, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we're going to take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. First, we'll show people joining us on Zoom. If you're at home, please turn on your camera and you can wave. Now, people who are attending service in our building, it's your turn to wave. And we do have a couple of announcements. Margaret.
The PPQ Bazaar is still happening. It will be after the service. I don't know whether before or after the congregational meeting, but it will be down there. We have a number of fine things. This shawl, hand knit, hand dyed, hand spun by one of the PPQ. We have hats. We have some fine salsa. We have a real treasure here, and this is jam made from that plum tree that used to be there. Last chance to get this jam. We have apricot chutney. We have blackcurrant raspberry jam, and many, many more. Most of these jams and preserves are made by things that were grown by us. So, see you after church.
And today is also the last day for Christmas for Kids donations. So thank you for everyone who participated this year. And if you have your Christmas for Kids donations in the first floor hallway by sometime today, that would be greatly appreciated. You may notice on this side of our sanctuary we have seats with yellow ribbons. That is our optional, our masking area that you can opt into. If you wish to mask and sit around other people who mask, you can sit there. Otherwise, feel free to sit anywhere you'd like. And I think...
Say after the service for that thought.
Oh yes, the big one. I forgot the most important one. We have our congregational meeting today after church. And that is where we set our yearly budget and where we vote on new board members. So our church cannot operate without this meeting. And so if you are a member, please stay. It's usually really short. We'll just do it right away after service. The kids will stay in RE. It'll be seamless. And on Zoom too, you can stay because you are counted in the being present for the vote. So stick around for just a minute, and then you can shop to your heart's content at the PPQ Bazaar. And here end our announcements. We preface this service by acknowledging that our church was built on the ancestral homelands of the Nimipu, called the Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse, and the Shishums, called the Coeur d'Alene. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and for responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and all her peoples. We're hoping that folks joining us via Zoom have a chalice to light or a candle and something to light it with, and we can light our chalices together. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Began last Sunday. The Jewish festival of Hanukkah started Thursday evening. This Friday was Bodhi Day, the Buddhist holiday that celebrates the anniversary of the historical Buddha's enlightenment. People in Sweden and Norway celebrate Santa Lucia Day on December 13th, this coming Wednesday. Pagans celebrate Yule or solstice on the 21st. As do followers of the Shinto religion. Each of these holidays and their observances are distinct and particular. Their stories, traditions, and rituals are unique, which needs to be understood and respected. We strive for cultural appreciation here, not cultural appropriation. And we acknowledge and celebrate the truth that in this congregation, we have people who follow each of these paths, who can choose to share their holiday traditions with us as an act of spiritual generosity. Like Miriam, who will be lighting the Hanukkah candles and singing the traditional blessings for us in just a moment. Of all the winter holidays, though, it may be the one that we celebrate today specifically, December 10th, UN Human Rights Day. That's the simplest for Unitarian Universalists to claim as our own. Our commitment to human rights is symbolized by the chalice that we light every single Sunday. I'll say a little more about that later. In the meantime, this is what the UUA website has to say about winter holidays. For everything there is a season, a time to die and a time to be born. With the arrival of winter's low, dark sky, communities around the world look to the miracle of light as a sign of rebirth and a source of hope. We celebrate the promise of new life and recommit ourselves to the protection of everyone's right to their own radiant humanity. This is the season of light returning, and we, each and all, are bearers of that light. And with that, I'd like to invite Miriam and Scott forward to share the light of the Hanukkah candles with us.
Should we give? Where'd Sam go?
You're right.
Which microphone? This one?
Let's do that.
Okay. Put this on? No. Okay.
Good times.
want to take it out of the stand and I'll hold it? I can be a microphone stand for a bit.
Well, we need to. Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Okay. There we go. Do you want me to? Okay.
Hello, hi. I'm Scott Milner and my wife Miriam Hertz. So the candles, as I understand it, Miriam, are normally lit after sundown. So we'll have to kind of pretend, and it won't be too hard, that this is not feeding back. Okay. Pretend that this is the evening, and therefore it would be the fourth night of Hanukkah. Okay, great. So, on this fourth night of Hanukkah, 2 blessings are sung after 4 candles are lit by the Hamish candle. The first prayer means, "Praise be thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by his commandments and commanded us to kindle the light of Hanukkah." The second prayer means, "Praise be thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who performed miracles for our ancestors in days of old at this season."
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chadlik shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim l'avotenu, bayamim pa'im, b'zman hazeh.
Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful ritual with us. And now I'll invite the children forward. Oh, that's right, we have to sing first. I invite you to rise. In body or in spirit, we're going to sing Light One Candle.
month of Sundays, and our recipient for this last month was Inland Oasis, and we have two people. What happened to the other people? They're sitting. Well, come on up. We were able to collect $2,377.01 for Inland Oasis, and these nice people will tell us what they're going to do with all that money.
Well, we thank you very much. This is going to go very far towards updating and renovating our community center that we're working on. We have a community kitchen that we're building, and once a month we plan on doing community meals there. It'll be free to anybody to come if they need, warm food. We do also host the West Side Food Pantry, and we see over 2,000 people a month through our doors there. And over 12,000 pounds of food goes out to help those people. So this is going to go a long way to help us take care of our community.
Just want to add really quickly, our board president couldn't make it, but I'm on the board there in Inland Oasis. Kathy couldn't make it, she's having an eye problem, but we're also super excited. Next year we're trying to get up free HIV/AIDS testing for our community. That's been a real lack in our community recently, so this will definitely add to that kind of project we're working on. Thank you all.
Would you mind introducing yourselves?
Oh, my name's Nick. I think I know a lot of you all. I do the PPQ a lot. This is my first time actually coming, but I'm at PPQ, ladies.
And I'm Megan. I'm actually one of the 2 full-time employees for Inland Oasis. Thank you so much for being here. And now we're going to take that moment to practice generosity together. This month, our Month of Sundays recipient is Alternatives to Violence of the Palouse. Their mission is to help families find safety and support in the face of coercion, aggression, and violence. So all of the cash that you put in the basket will go to ATVP. If you write a check or donate online, just either write a Month of Sundays on the memo line, or choose it from the drop-down menu. In the spirit of love, and for the continuing work of this church, we'll now take some time to practice generosity together. And now I invite Patricia Jessup forward to share the lighting of Candles of Joy.
Thank you. I invite you now to sink just a little deeper into the spirit of meditation or prayer. These are the words of my colleague Elizabeth Strong. We are in the midst of the season of celebration. Celebrations of the birth of new hope, of the festival of lights, of the triumph of freedom. The darkness of the year will lift, and the time of light will grow longer. We have gathered with an anticipation of hope for peace on earth and in our homes. We have gathered in this season of celebration seeking comfort
to soften the pain and the losses our lives have suffered in the fast retreating year. We've gathered to worship joyfully within this season of celebrations with the tenderness and love of family and friends around us. Let us be embraced by the strength and power of this sacred space that we each bring as we create beloved community together. Let joy and sorrow join in the fullness of our living. Let the power and strength we embody join us together as we move through the seasons of celebration into a new year with a new vision of hope for peace on earth. Let us be silent together. Amen, and blessed be. Now I invite the choir forward.
Hello, 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 hello. All right, awesome. Some of you might remember this. We performed this last year at Music Sunday. But I thought since Hanukkah started this week that we would reprise that. So the chorus of the song, we count the 8 candles. This is in Ladino, which is a Hebrew derivative version of Spanish, so it's kind of combined. So we count down, starting with 1. So it's a lot like Spanish, except instead of una, it's uno. And we've got dos, cuatro, and then cinco, and then seis, siete, and then ocho. So when we get to that part, you're welcome to count along with us. If you can't remember the Ladino, just say in Spanish. If you don't speak Spanish, just say some numbers with us. Anything 1 through 8. I also wanted to thank Scott Builder, Diane Prorak, and then Anita Larty for accompanying us today.
America.
Thank you so much. So for our reading this morning, I wanted to read you a version of the history of the origin story for our flaming chalice. So that's where we're starting. In the 1940s, as the German army began to impose its totalitarianism across Europe, many people fled in fear of their lives. At the time, the Unitarian Service Committee, the USC, committed itself to rescuing as many refugees as possible. Their work was dangerous, and they saved the lives of many. The documents created to help these refugees escape needed an official-looking logo, so Dr. Charles Joy of the Unitarian Service Committee hired a graphic designer, Hans Deutsch, himself a refugee, to create one. The flaming chalice drew upon ancient religious symbols to be an official seal for the USC. The communion chalice, the holy oils used for blessing in many religions, the altars of Greek and Roman times, and lights put in the window as a symbol of hospitality are all evoked by our flaming chalice. Throughout World War II, this symbol guided refugees to safety on travel documents, business cards, and in the windows of otherwise hidden offices. After the war, the flaming chalice gained popularity as a symbol of Unitarianism and then later Unitarian Universalism. The ritual lighting of the chalice in Unitarian Universalist worship became widespread in our congregations in the 1970s. Our flaming chalice is still a symbol of life-saving welcome. Where it burns, its light beckons us to all live up to our shared principles and participate in the liberation of all people. So the sun came up this morning at 7:21. How do I know that? Because I have a little black dog who, the minute the sun is up, thinks that it is time for his breakfast, and so he jumps on the bed and starts whining. It will go down shortly before 4, and I know that because often with that little dog we get stuck on the mountain in the dark and I have to use a headlamp to get home safely. In June, it comes up by 5 a.m. and stays up nearly until 9 p.m. It's a big difference. And we can understand logically that this difference has to do with our latitude and the tilt of the earth, but what we feel in our bodies is anything but logical. During the winter, we experience decreased energy and existential awareness of our own fragility. It takes work to stay warm and safe and fed during the cold times of the year. And though our modern lives insulate us to some extent from the risks of exposure or starvation, our bodies remember. So they tend to either want to go on high alert or descend into semi-hibernation, slow and sleepy. Does that resonate? Does it sound about right? I know it is for me. So fire, of course, offers heat and light and protection from hungry predators. It's only natural that we find comfort in it. My colleague, the Reverend Christina Leon Tracy, has written, "When the winter is long, light can feel like hope." When the winter is long, light can feel like hope. It can also feel like courage, like faith, like a talisman. So when we light the Advent candles, we light one for faith, one for hope, one for peace, and one for love. In our winter solstice ritual, we talk about how each of us has the power to kindle goodness and energy in another. Meanwhile, Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt has this to say about Hanukkah. Hanukkah comes to remind us, don't give up. Don't give in to the voice that says you aren't enough. Do what little you can, even if it doesn't feel like it's enough, maybe especially if it doesn't feel like it's enough. Make the leap of faith, of continuing to try to build a life, a nation, a world that is better than the one we've got now. Start tonight with one little light, one tiny flame against the darkness, and tomorrow night there will be 2, and the night after that there will be 3.
Of course, it's not really about the candle flames. The literal flames on our menorah are symbols. They remind us of a deeper spiritual truth, that we can bring light, that what we are is enough, that all hope is not lost, that when we can hope for better, we can work for better, and we can take back all of the places that have been desecrated and make them holy once again. Hanukkah feels especially poignant this year. The historical account of the conflict between the Seleucids and the Maccabees makes it clear that horrible, immoral acts were committed by people on both sides. The Seleucids killed innocents and destroyed the Jewish temple, while the Maccabees were guerrilla warriors. They were not peaceful, nonviolent demonstrators. Retaking the temple involved killing a lot of people, including other Jews who refused to take part in the revolt and who, as a result, were seen as collaborators. But the holiday of Hanukkah doesn't celebrate the battle or the victory. It celebrates what comes after: the cleaning up, the dusting off of sacred symbols, the relighting of the holy flame. The word Hanukkah means dedication or consecration, and at its heart is the practice of reclaiming peace and wholeness in the aftermath of violence. So what must it feel like to celebrate when violence is ongoing? Then again, violence is always ongoing, or at least it seems that way. When the danger and the dark are most pressing, we most need the light, the external light that symbolizes hope, and the internal light of courage. Today is the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Let me read you the preamble. And remember, it's 75 years old, so some of the language, especially around gender, is pretty outdated, but still. 75 years ago. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Whereas it is essential, if we are not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law, whereas it is essential to promote the development of friendly relations between nations. Whereas the people of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women, to have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom. Whereas member states have pledged themselves to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Whereas a common understanding of these rights and freedoms is of the greatest importance for the full realization of this pledge. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance, both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. 75 years. And the project is still under construction. The Declaration goes on to establish that all people are born free and equal regardless of where they were born, their history, their gender, their politics, their religion. It establishes that slavery is immoral, as is torture, arbitrary arrest, and imprisonment. All people are entitled to fair and public trials and should be considered innocent until proven guilty. It establishes a right to privacy and freedom of movement, including the right to seek asylum. It affirms the rights of adults to form families of their own choosing, preserves freedom of thought, conscience, religion, opinion, and expression, freedom of speech, as well as peaceful assembly and association. It lifts up democracy as the appropriate form of government and asserts that everyone has the right to safety, the right to work, to be paid for that work, and to organize to advocate for fair pay and safe working conditions. It includes the right to rest and leisure, as well as an adequate standard of living, which includes food, clothing, housing, education, and medical care. These have been established as fundamental human rights for 75 years. So I think we have to ask ourselves why our nation falls so far short of meeting those standards. Morality isn't written in stone. It's an evolving consensus. And in some ways, we've actually evolved beyond what was captured in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But in so many other ways, we still fall short right here in the United States. And the consensus that this is where we're headed, that this is what's right and just and fair, that consensus is falling apart. When refugees are denied sanctuary and children are put in cages, our nation is in violation of global moral standards. When funds to necessary social supports are slashed so that the uber wealthy don't have to pay their fair share of taxes, our nation is in violation of global moral standards. When people are denied access to health care because of their financial status, or left houseless and unsheltered, unfed or uneducated, we are in violation of global moral standards. Now, we Unitarian Universalists have a strong history of fighting for what is morally right, even when it means breaking the law or going around it. Our flaming chalice commemorates acts of tremendous courage and risk taken on behalf of refugees fleeing war-torn Europe. How many of you have seen the movie The Sharps War? Can you raise your hands? That's not enough. I think maybe we need to arrange a showing, a watch party here. It's about Waitzel and Martha Sharp, the founders of the service committee. It's extraordinarily well done. It's a Ken Burns film. Tom Hanks is the voice of Waitzel, so I mean, this isn't like a fly-by-night small thing. So we'll arrange a viewing party. As World War II ravaged Europe, Martha and Waitzel Sharp felt this overwhelming call to do something to help, so they left their own young children behind in the care of congregants and friends and headed to Europe. Originally, their goal was to provide humanitarian relief. However, they soon shifted their efforts to getting refugees out of the country, particularly children. It took tremendous courage to defy the legal authorities of the countries where the service committee operated to evacuate refugees. Martha almost got arrested by the Gestapo as she was escorting 35 refugees, journalists, political leaders, and children into England. She arranged what were called kindertransports to get large groups of children to safety, and the methods she developed to do this work were adopted by other agencies and individuals trying to save lives during these dark times. So our flaming chalice, this beloved symbol, it was commissioned initially to make the forged papers used to get refugees out of harm's way look a little more official. And it was designed to evoke something more universal than a single religious symbol could. The communion chalice, the holy oils used for blessing, the altars of Greek and Roman times, the lights put in the window as a symbol of hospitality. It's not just a pretty object. It's a testimony to the courage of our ancestors, and it's an invitation to emulate their bravery in our own lives. So we don't light our chalice every week for aesthetic reasons or even to symbolize our connection and solidarity with other Unitarian Universalists. We light it as a beacon, calling us to the work of collective liberation, moral evolution, the building of a world that is worthy of our children. This is what the light means to us. So my invitation to you all then during these dark, cold days is to remember this. As we sing familiar carols, as we deck the halls, as we buy gifts and wrap them in pretty paper, the purpose of this season of light isn't just to help us personally get through short days and cold nights. The purpose is to remind us who we are and why we are here. With each ornament we hang, we can reflect on our sense of call. We can ask ourselves, how do my words and actions impact the world? We can recommit to the work of cultivating peace, spreading kindness, insisting on justice and mercy. With each gift we buy, we can reflect on the tension between love and fear. We can ask ourselves, what's the most loving and generous thing I can do? How are my fears keeping me from living fully? What is love asking of me now? With each candle we light or strand of bulbs we hang, we can reflect on the need for courage. We can ask ourselves, what do we need in order to be brave? How do we work for what's right and good without yielding to despair or helplessness? Above all, we need to weave ourselves together and keep weaving, living into the truth that we are all connected. We need each other and we need to care for each other. So the thing about a candle is that it shares its light without getting any dimmer. And so it is with us. We can share our hope, and what's inside us only shines brighter. We can share our power. We can use it to help others without diminishing our own sense of agency. And in fact, it shines brighter. So let's keep passing the light. Let's keep passing the spark. This is how we light up the darkness. This is how we survive these terrifying days. And this is how we find our way to a better world. So be it, and so may it be. Let's sing together now, Deck the Halls. Please be seated. Our closing reading is To Light the Darkness and Begin Again by D. Scott Cooper. There is a glow far off in the distance, a light to which no path leads. We know that each time we help another or join with them to heal the world, each time we stand up for justice and what is right, each time we work and hope and love against all odds, a spark is created that adds to the intensity of that light. We join with others who see and turn toward the glow.
As we travel toward that beacon, the underbrush of indifference is flattened and a path is created. More are led to join us, and obstacles are kicked away, and a road is formed. Many approach the light, strengthened by our works, and we join them to each light a candle. Although many candles are lighted, the blaze never diminishes. We travel out into the world again to light the darkness and begin again. The cycle continues, our work intensifying the glow, and our joining with others to travel to the blaze and light our candles again. We continue, knowing that one day we or our grandchildren, or perhaps their grandchildren, will no longer travel that widened and trodden path to light a candle, because dawn has arrived. Justice is commonplace, and poverty is vanquished, and the beloved community stands illuminated in the fullness of daylight. So may it be. Please join me now in the words for extinguishing our chalice for the day. We extinguish this chalice, that it might flow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again. And let's sing together our musical benediction, There is a Love. So after the congregational meeting, we will go forth into this world and put our faith into action, put our love into service. This is who we are. It is what we do this time of year and all the time. And if you're tired, rest, and then turn and rise and begin again. I love you all. It is such a deep and profound honor to be part of this community. Happy Hanukkah. Go forth. Happy Human Rights Day.
Thank you.